Welcome, friends. Up next, we're going to be talking about debt. Yes, debt. The dirty word in personal finance. You see, so debt is frowned upon. And I even wondered whether or not to cover this in this lecture. But I couldn't leave it without teaching you some of the new philosophies that I've uncovered. So what I want you to take away from this lecture is that regardless the amount of debt that you have, always keep investing while paying it off. Don't stop investing to pay off debt. As you're going to learn later, there is something called compound interest. That is how you make a lot of money over a long period of time. When you stop investing to pay off debt, you're having compound interest work against you. So you always want to be investing while paying off debt. And the rule of thumb is to pay off debts that are charging you over 10% in interest, right? And the common debt that charges really high interest is typically credit cards, right? So credit cards should be the first to go. And once you've paid off all of your credit cards, apply the same amount you were paying towards your cards to any loan that is over 10%. So essentially, you're going to be paying a higher amount towards your debt, right? This is called the debt snowball. Once you're done paying off one debt, you keep that same payment, but you roll it into another. So the order in which you should pay off your debt is first credit cards. Next, pay off any loans over 10% interest. Once you're done with that, next in line is private student loans. Reason is because private student loans don't offer tax deductions, and often they are at a slightly higher interest rate. So you want to get that out of the way. Once you're done paying off your private student loan, the next question is typically, should I pay off my federal student loan or my car loan? There are a lot of variables to consider to make this decision, right? But to make it simple, if you have a federal loan, which is on a repayment plan, so in this instance, maybe you can focus on paying off your car loan. However, if you have a standard 10-year plan, which does not have forgiveness, you might want to consider paying off your student loan before you focus on the car loan. And last but certainly not the least, mortgage. Because of the low interest rate, but another great thing is that you get the tax write-off. So because of all these benefits, you can typically focus on paying off your mortgage last. However, I would like to add something. I feel federal student loans are much better in terms of debt than a mortgage. The reason I want to go over this is because I know many people who are extremely uncomfortable with student loan debt. But then think about this for a second. Federal student loans are not managed by a bank. Banks are for-profit companies. Rather, you have a federal government that is more lenient and is willing to work with students. So even when students are unemployed, you're offered a grace period within which you don't have to pay back your student loan. So because of this, can you see why I prefer student loans versus mortgages as debt? So I hope having student loans doesn't keep you up at night, because the federal government is going to work with any and everyone to make sure your payments are amounts that you can afford. And when you don't have a job, you just contact the government and they're going to be more than happy to work with you.